on the NewsChannel 5 network. This is Open Line.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Open Line. I'm Carrie Sharp. So glad you're joining us tonight. We are talking about a wonderful topic because it needs to be talked about. We're talking about recovery from addiction. And tonight I have two wonderful guests joining me who both have personal experience through this and walking themselves through this and walking others through it. Let me introduce you to my guests, Pastor Adam Comer and Bruce Stanley. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Okay.
Both of you work for Spring to Life Recovery. And I want to just start because there's so much to unpack with this topic. We've heard so much about the opioid epidemic, about recovery, about relapse. There's a lot to get to in the next hour, and I want to invite people to call in as we always do. If you have questions about recovery, questions about Spring to Life, encouragement you want to give others, this is a great time to call. The number's on the screen, 615-737+. But I want to jump into Spring to Life kind of in the middle of the story, and if one of you all could give me kind of the 10,000-foot overview of what Spring to Life is, because it's different than a lot of rehab facilities.
Sure. So Spring to Life, and we shorten that and we just say S2L Recovery.
Okay.
We're different. We're a faith-based recovery center. We're all male. Right now there's a need for a female facility, but we don't have the staff. But we will get to that. We're different because our approach is different. We believe that it's not behavior modification that needs to take place. We've both experienced models like that. But it's an inside-out approach. It's let's look at the heart and what's going on the inside. And biblically, we take all of our teaching from the Bible and apply that to our own lives. And biblically, the message was, if you clean the inside of the cup and dish, then the outside will also be clean. And the biggest difference is the hope that's found the moment someone walks in the door. And here's why. We've both been to many different recovery type places, and you're told that you're going to be an addict your whole life.
Right.
Once you're an addict, you're always an addict. And we don't see that in the Bible. We see that there's freedom, absolute freedom. And so when someone hears that, someone who's come to us from maybe 4 or 5 up to 12 different places at times, and they're just told, I'm always going to be this. I'm always going to be this. And then when they hear maybe for the first time that, hey, that's not accurate. You don't have to be this anymore. There's a sense of hope and the encouragement that comes from that. It's incredible.
It's so interesting that you bring that up, because I've been listening to a couple of podcasts that are focused on the opioid epidemic, and I've known about AA, and a lot of people very seriously carry around those coins. They're like, I'm 1 year in recovery, I'm 7 years, and whatever. And I was thinking as I was listening to this podcast today, I'm like, but you're clinging on to you still have that title of addict, and when do you release that? And your theory that Spring to Life is that when you believe in Jesus, you are a new creation. You are new.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's again, we don't want to talk badly about other places.
Because for some people, this is very important and it works.
It helps. It's just the way that the Bible reads is that you are a new creation. The old is gone, behold, the new is here. And there is encouragement when you've gone another year clean, and so those coins and things like that could be very beneficial, but at the same time it's encouragement and it's hope that, man, that's not me anymore. That used to be me. I don't do that. I don't think like that. I don't act like that. That's not me. And that is a very, very big piece, we believe, to what's going on.
Right. And so I would say, in addition to that, you're also told it's an incurable disease. And so your best hope is some sort of recession.
Or maintenance, I guess.
To the disease, or continued maintenance to that disease. And so there's always this on guard kind of feeling that you have that at any minute, if I don't pay attention to these things and those things and triggers, and so there's always this feeling of it's not going to work. And it doesn't take much to look out there and see how so many people are failing at it. So aside from what the biblical perspective of you're created new, what we really push in this freedom is growth. And it's from a biblical perspective, but it applies to everybody. The Bible talks about you're to grow your faith. And the reason you do that is so that you don't sit on your salvation, you become more and more like Christ, which is actually character changing, life-changing desires, so that the person who you used to be is no longer the person you're growing to, and therefore you become strengthened, you become more tolerant, and are equipped to actually handle the things in life that used to just derail you and cause you to go back to those things to cope with. That now you learn different ways to do it. And you could say, somebody probably could argue that's behavior modification, but not necessarily, because what you're doing is you're dealing with the way you look at it, your perspective, the thing of your heart. So in the end, what ends up happening is there's change in your life because of it, but it's a different way to approach it and actually put it in application.
Where is Spring to Life Recovery located?
We are located in Cannon County in Woodbury. We used to have a property in Murfreesboro, and we actually had a church building in Murfreesboro. We just sold that, and we got to sell it to another church, and so that was really cool. It gets to stay in ministry, but our main campus is in Woodbury, in Cannon County.
And how many men do you serve? And you call these men students?
Right. We don't, and I guess that's an interesting point, just because they're not clients. You know,
Or patients.
Our patients. It's really a family atmosphere, along with the hope. All of the alumni and people that stay in touch is because it's kind of like a brotherhood, and one is because all of the staff have been through it. We've
walked the walk.
We've walked it. We've been there, and so there's not this judgmental feeling. There's a feeling of, man, this guy might know some things about this. He might not have just read some things about this. So I'm going to listen, you know, because he's actually been where I've been, and so we don't call them clients. We call them students because they're learning. You know.
We're seeing some video from Spring to Life, and just walk me through a day in the life if you are a student there.
Well, we have a curriculum, and so every moment of every day is planned out, whether you're in a class or in a group or an activity or something that has been on the schedule for you to do for that day. We take every opportunity to hopefully show people how to grow in either a learning forum or an activity which you do with each other. And just kind of piggybacking off of what Adam said earlier in terms of how we see them as students, and it's more of a peer-to-peer type thing, although the person who is teaching has been out a little bit in front of you and has already had the experience of understanding some things that they're trying to share with somebody else. And so there's like a camaraderie that happens in that, so it's never really looked at as an authoritative type thing. It's more of a respect. Hey, I should probably listen to you, and here's why.
Sure.
And so we do have times for reflection. People say downtime, because if you're always in a classroom, which some programs, from the time you get up in the morning until the time you go to bed, you're in a classroom, you're doing something, and if you don't give people time to reflect on what it is that they're teaching, and an opportunity for them to talk amongst themselves. So we'll have guys that'll start their own Bible study groups between times that are scheduled on the curriculum, and we really want to encourage those things, because those are actually more effective than somebody coming in a classroom and just dictating what it is that you're going to learn.
This is what we're doing today. Yeah.
And something very interesting, kind of the peer-to-peer, being able to break down some walls pretty quickly that need to come down for the heart. But we've also God's led a licensed clinical social worker to us as well, to kind of cover all aspects of, they might not feel comfortable talking to us about certain things in the past because of that peer relationship. And he's come in, he has our same DNA and the aspect of his belief of addiction. And so it's been a really cool year of growth, and how God's kind of coming together with the curriculum that we're putting out there. And we have a survey that's taken place, and it's for people who've been out of the program for 1 year or longer, and we're in the program for at least 30 days. And the results that have come back is 60+% are still doing great.
Wow.
And that's astronomical.
It is, because what is the average when it comes to
15%? Some are as low as 3%, and some are as high as 20%. But
we're talking about the success rate of rehabilitation overall.
Yeah.
So you're saying right now your study shows about 60% going through your program, but the national average 12 to 30ish.
Yeah, and that's low. But even at 60%, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
It's not, because we're dealing with life, and so we're encouraged by a number that by industry standards is high, but at the same time, we do these things not only to say, hey, here's our number, but man, how can we improve? And that's one of the questions that we want to ask when we're on the phone. And what can we do? What's some things that we can add? Hence, bringing on the licensed clinical social worker, creating more of an aftercare type situation.
Sure.
And so we're always growing and learning. I don't think that anyone can say that they know everything about everything, and you would be in a flawed state if so.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, many more questions, a lot more unpacking to do about this, and we do want to hear from you. If you have a question about recovery, if you have a loved one going through addiction, these guys probably can help tonight. Go ahead and give us a call. 615-737-PLUS is the number to call. We're coming right back.